Success Insight shares the stories of the people with passion and drive who make things happen in the world. Here's your host, Howard Fox.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Success Insight podcast. It's Monday, and if you were listening to the show last week, we had Andree Martin, your leadership mindset and golf performance coach, and we kicked off a new series, and we're calling it Mindset Mondays because Andree, as a very accomplished professional golfer, but she also recognizes golf's value as a business tool in today's competitive marketplace. And she works with individuals, groups, corporate, and organizational clients to create educational and team-building programs that enhance the professional success of aspiring executives. And she's also a huge proponent of mindset, how we show up. What are we thinking about in the moment? And this connection between the world of business as leaders, supervisors, people who want to lead, and the game of golf. And it's such an intertwining of concepts and choices we get to make, ways we can not only improve ourselves in the office, but also out on the links. Andree, welcome back to another episode of the Success Insight podcast, and I guess the second episode of Mindset Monday.
Thanks, Howard. It's great to be here once again. Appreciate the invitation back. Looking forward to helping out the audience and adding more value to their golf games and perhaps more.
Fantastic. So, hey, just for our listeners, you probably know by now we are still quarantined in our homes, and Andree's out in California. I'm here in Chicago, and my place actually has a huge empty area. So what a better way can there be than to listen to Andree's thoughts on how do we stay grounded and not only to practice now in the moment for ourselves, but perhaps, go get members of your family. Let them come and join you in this activity, because if it's good for you, it's going to be good for your loved ones as well. Hey, maybe even your pet. You never know.
That's a great point, Howard, because right now families are getting more one-on-one time together. And I'm sure there's lots of families out there that are thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with these kids now? Right? And while we will talk about staying grounded and includes the fundamentals of golf, I'd like to just make a couple touch points on this. Golf of any sport, and this is one of the reasons I love this game, is it's for everyone of every age, every race, every ability. I don't care what you are. There is something about golf for everybody. And this is the only sport that I know of that you can be on the same playing field. And usually there are 4 people on a hole. So that would be a foursome where everybody can play together and be totally different ability levels. So what a great way for a family to get together and be outdoors once craziness is over. But, there are many people in southern climates all the way through the United States and globally where you can actually get in the backyards. And this is a sport you can actually do in the backyard if you set it up safely and properly. Let's go back to how do we stay grounded and keep our heads out of the clouds and get our heads out of the sand when we just want to bury it right now, right? But let's have some fun here. You can't do anything. I don't care. Any sport. I love downhill skiing. I love anything outdoors, mountain biking, hiking, you name it. I even attempted tennis. And the only reason I went to golf is because I couldn't keep the tennis ball at the court. I kept busting it out over the fence. But anyway, yes, I was grounded. So let's get to business here. Can you build a house without a solid foundation, Howard?
No, you can't. It'd be very hard to keep it up.
Can a business executive build a business, or even an entrepreneur build a business without a solid foundation?
I would say no to that as well. I think to be successful, you might think you have the foundation, and that's in some ways that's why you have others helping you. But if we are literal without a foundation of product, knowing marketing, the creation of whatever that product is, whatever service, whatever is being sold, unless there's a foundation of dotting the I's and crossing the T's, it's not going to last for long.
In golf, I call it GPA plus B. It stands for grip, which I'm a little averse to that word because it's really the handle you hold. Posture, alignment, and there's always balance in everything we do. So I've added the B. So you can't have a full foundation of a house without all those fundamentals in place. And fun, notice how the word is fun is in that word, right? Families, anybody taking up the game, if it's not fun, it's not worth doing. If a business isn't fun, it's not worth doing. And we lose our attention and we fizzle out. What makes a champion is the stick-to-itiveness. So how are you going to go for the gold? You've got to lay good fundamentals, and you've got to have the right conditioning. You've got to have the right nutrition, because all these pieces, and it's been proven even in golf, Tiger Woods and Annika Sorenstam changed how golf is looked at as a sport. They created it as an athletic sport because they pulled in workout, they pulled in nutrition, and all these pieces go together. So now let's go back to GPA plus B, right? So grip, posture, alignment. If your posture isn't correct, it's like having one of the legs off from out of the house. You can't hold your posture. You can't maintain good balance. You can't maintain because none of your body parts are going to be in sequence, and therefore there will be no alignment either. And so all these key pieces are critical. And I don't care whether you're at an elite level as a tour player or a brand new beginner, we always come back to the fundamentals. I'll never forget, and this goes back to when I was first getting into teaching and out of the business world of golf. I was with Mike McGettrick years ago. Meg Mallon was a big Hall of Famer, and he gave me permission to watch him work with her. It amazed me how they went back to basics. He checked her grip, he checked her posture, and her tilt was just slightly out of whack. And she hadn't realized she had gotten a little ahead of the ball. Okay. Ahead of the ball means, just for those of you that are listening to this, that your chest or your sternum is ahead of the position of the ball. That spine angle needs to be tilting away over the club, or maybe even slightly behind that, depending on your setup with your body. And over the course of the 2 to 3 hours that I watched him work with her, he took those fundamentals and kept weaving back and winding back to this one fundamental that he was working on. And I thought, this is really interesting. Because at the time I was running a big and recalibrating a big junior golf program. And I was trying to think, how can I pull in these two golf courses? I was working with 9 different golf courses for the city of Denver at the time. And I had 2 of the programs were just kind of flailing. And it was mainly because of leadership. And I had an opportunity to bring in the leadership. And I started thinking, okay, what fundamentals are out of place? And we just kind of slid them all into place. It was great. Another thing that I want to share for you folks out there, and I don't care whether it's your businesses or your sports games, one of my favorite sayings about success is when preparedness meets opportunity. Well, laying the foundation and really sticking to those sound fundamentals gives you the opportunity for success because there will be no doubt later on. If you're practicing those fundamentals and really clarifying those fundamentals and really getting it down and totally understanding it, you can have a repeatable motion that's going to be consistent and reinforced every single time.
So golf and leadership each has their fundamentals, which if we identify those, we learn to pay attention to it. We check in with ourselves, whether we're starting the week, ending the week. How did I do? Am I sticking with the fundamentals? If it's out on the golf course, I suppose that's why we start off at the practice tee when we get to the golf course. I mean, it's been a long week.
Well, it's interesting. Golf's the only sport that's not taught on the field. Believe it or not, one of my biggest growths in teaching has been taking it to the course and helping people with the transfer skills to take it to the course. And it's interesting because if you're going to be going into a meeting, I'm going to have my outline set. I'm going to have the tool set for what I need to have and bring to the meeting, all the materials that I need. And if I've got all that set, which is another fundamental piece of getting prepared, I can go in and deliver the meeting and not wonder, I need this, and lose my place. I've got step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and I can go for it. Now, going back to your comment about the driving range and the chipping area, I do start everybody from the green and work backwards. Why would that be? 68% of someone's golf game is from 100 yards and in. Of that, 40% for most new golfers, 30%, 28 to 30% for tour players is on the putting green. And we've got to lay down those fundamentals. And I always start with chipping and putting because it creates an understanding for what it's like to be in the impact zone. Well, with sound fundamentals, you can create impact, can't you? Impact is what we need to get consistent every single time. I've seen golf professionals, and I want you all to picture, those of you that are listening, whether you play golf or not, this is going to resonate for everybody. You've got some people take the club and think of a path where you've got a loop or a path in the swing where it goes outside and away from the body and back in. And then some path comes inside and loops out and around and comes back. And then other swings go straight back and straight through. I have hundreds of golf swings in my computer. Every single professional is the same in what I call the 4 to 8 o'clock zone. If you picture a clock in front of you, face on, and look down at the clock and see where 4 o'clock is and 8 o'clock is, that is what we call the impact zone. And whatever a person does going back, they have to match that on the way through. And what that does is that creates solid impact. And that lays the groundwork to build a great, solid foundational swing that then can be transferred to the golf course and played. So fun creates play.
Fantastic. And I'm curious, when you're working with a novice or an executive, someone who's used to being around the golf course, is this type of conversation, is this routine? You're starting them on the green, that 100 yards, that impact zone. Are you providing some of those analogies back and forth?
I do. Okay. I use them a lot. One of my favorite ones that I really want to complete today's Mindset Monday with is, if you make the swing, the ball will happen. If you line up all the fundamentals and you equal whatever you're doing on the takeaway and finish through with the same alignments in place, you're creating, with good balance, you're going to create a flow and a momentum that really works and creates solid impact, solid shots, great shots, and success.
Fantastic. And as leaders and managers and team leaders, we can take those principles from the golf course and take it back to our office and ask ourselves, what do we need to do to
go for the gold?
I love it. Andree, thank you again for a wonderful Mindset Monday. And I'm really excited what we're going to have in next week's episode. Thank you.
Me too. Thanks so much, Howard.
My pleasure.
Thanks, folks. Enjoy.
So, folks, we've just been listening again to Andree Martin, your leadership mindset and golf performance coach. We have been talking about staying grounded. And just a reminder, you can listen to these podcasts and hopefully work on your balance, staying grounded, grip, posture, alignment, balance, and that formula. And, whether you're practicing at home, out in the backyard, whether you are, just thinking about work you have to get done with the job. But
set the outline, chunk it out piece by piece, and you're going to build a beautiful swing, a beautiful business, and a great plan for success.
Well, see, Andree even says it better than I could, so can't fault that. When you got a pro in the house, you go with the pro. Well, listen, folks, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Do visit Andree on our website, andreegolf.com. We'll also provide links there as well as on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And do check us out on successinsightpodcast.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, let us know. Put a comment in at the end of the show notes, or go out to LinkedIn, go out to our Facebook page. We're also on all of the podcast platforms, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, as well as YouTube. So, hey, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go out there, have a phenomenal day, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Success Insight Podcast. Take care now.
Success Insight is a production of Fox Coaching and First Story Strategies. Find us online, successinsightpodcast.com.